What's going on, my KD community? I want to welcome you back to Knicks Deli. This is a deli run, so this is not the full-fledged Knicks Deli. This is simply stopping in and giving you my thoughts, man. Everywhere I go, I went to the DMV today to go get my car and everything switched over from Indiana to New York. And I ran into these two brothers who are online, and I have my Knicks gear on, of course. And one was a Knicks fan, the other was a security guard. So he was just like, yo, what about you Knicks, man? I don't know, man. I don't think they're going to get past Philly. So they saw me with the Knicks shirt on. And, they was just like, yo, what you think, bro? I see you got the Knicks jersey on. And I was just like, yo, I think we're going to win the chip this year. And even the Knicks fan was just like, yo, I don't know about all that. I think we're going to be all right. I don't know about all that. And I'm like, listen, man, why can't we say it with our chest? And I'm not just saying it to be a delusional Knicks fan. That is what's been portrayed about us all these years. That's what's just been placed on us and labeling us all these years. But I'm telling you what I see. I've been a New York Knicks fan since about 1992. So that dunk year is really what got me locked in on the Knicks. And I'm telling you, many of those years, new fans today, they'll listen to the Michael Jordan fans today and the LeBron fans today, and everybody is comfortable, bashing the Knicks because the Knicks haven't been a winner for about 20 years. And when they do reflect on the time of the 90s that many of us reflect fondly upon, their thing is, yeah, but y'all ain't win nothing. Y'all ain't win no championships. How many championships you won? And it's easy to say that if you're a relatively new fan and you are unaware of how the 90s really was. And if you were aware of how the 90s really was, you knew that nobody was winning on Mike's watch. All right? I am not a Michael Jordan fan. Michael Jordan has been the bane of my existence as a Knicks fan for forever. All right? But I'm telling you, the man was just impossible to beat. He was impossible to beat. He was clutch. Anytime you think you would slow him down, you were wrong. Anytime you were just like, yo, the game plan for any fan who was not in the 90s, the game plan for Michael Jordan was let him get 90 points because we knew he could get that easily. Let him score as many points as he want. Let's lock down everybody else. Let's let everybody else beat us. See if they can step up because he can't beat us by himself. And for the most part, they were right. He would score 65. Only thing that his teammates needed to do is give him a clutch 13 points. Give him a clutch 25 points. And they won that way. That's how unstoppable this man was. The intricacies of the game. This is why a lot of Knicks fans from the 90s, are so knowledgeable. That's why we pay attention to the detail. That's why we know the importance of a coach to a team. Because when you see a player like Michael Jordan who has the air game, when you see a player like Michael Jordan who cashes in at the free throw line, a player like Michael Jordan whose footwork was spectacular and immaculate, a player like Michael Jordan who had the mid-game, the mid-range game there as well, and a player like Michael Jordan who could cash in on that three-point shot if he wanted to. That wasn't the way of the game back then, so he didn't have to focus on that. The man was unafraid. He was an attacker. And once again, I'm not saying all of those things to put Mike on a pedestal because I hated him. If we could have injured him, and we tried, and I rooted for it, but it didn't work, But I'm saying all that to say, you got to recognize what looks familiar to you. And that's what boggles my mind. Y'all don't see a lot of those characteristics and traits in Brunson. That's what's making me look, it's got me crazy. That's what made me say with confidence. Once I watched the film and we were talking about getting Jalen Brunson, the moment we secured Jalen Brunson, the talk of the draft, which was shortly thereafter or shortly before, was Jaden Ivey. And then when the conversation came up about Detroit getting him and the Knicks not being able to get him, I really started to dive into the tape of Jalen Brunson in Dallas. And once I started to do that and look in the highlights and watch interviews, look at his college tape at Villanova, listen to his coaches, listen to his opponents, I'm like, yo, this cat has everything that we were hoping to get in Donovan Mitchell, but more. His footwork is more advanced than Donovan Mitchell's. His, he had the mid-range game. You know what I mean? He had the three-point shot. But the difference that I saw was emotionally, he never got too high, he never got too low. He had dog-like tendencies. And then once I started to watch his tape from Villanova, I'm like, yo, the man is a leader. The man is big time. The man comes through in a clutch. The man, galvanizes. People want to play with him. Pause. You know what I mean? His teammates want to play with him. That says a lot. And the more and more I watched the film, the more and more I felt like, yo, I think we got the point guard we've always been looking for. Now, did anybody see this level of play? No, they didn't. Did anybody see this level of play? No, they didn't. But to believe we would get half of what we see right now, we would have been good with that, because there is no point guard play that we've had prior to that who gave us this level of checking off all the boxes, you know what I mean, in the category that you look for a superstar point guard. None of that. And the fact that I just said superstar, and it was easy to say it, yo, like that's insane to me. And the benefit that I've seen in the New York Knicks really tying in everything, tying up all those fractured relationships that they've had. You starting to see the people come back to the Garden, whether it's Raymond Felton, whether it's Stephon Marbury, whether it's any of the players, former players that have contributed to, the success that we've seen as a team. You're starting to see them return back, and start getting accolades from the crowd, etc. That's what you want to see. But ultimately what it is a reminder of, it's a reminder that, listen, all of those players, you remember the good times they had. You remember the impact that they had to the success of the New York Knicks when they were winning. But you also remember the weaknesses and the shortcomings, because you're able to see what Brunson is doing now, and you reflect back on that. I was just thinking, once I saw Marbury was one of my favorite players. When you think about Marbury was big time. Marbury was clutch. He had a three-point game. He definitely was like an elite player in driving to the basket. He was strong. He was stronger than a lot of his peers. A lot of the players that he played against, he was strong. He was stronger than. And he was almost unstoppable every time he went to the basket. And that was something that you knew you had a mismatch on anytime you went into a game against an opponent. But what you were concerned by was whether or not he could balance involving his teammates and getting his buckets. Marbury was a scorer. He had a scorer's mentality. He was a little bit flashy too. He brought that Brooklyn with him. You loved that, but you never really knew if he made his team better, if he had the ability to elevate his team. Raymond Felton didn't have all of those goods, but he was pugnacious. He was a bulldog, and he was exactly what D'Antoni needed him to be in order to carry that offense. And the moment he teamed up with Stat, they were on pace to do legendary stuff. Really legendary stuff. He had mastered the pick and roll. He was a commander of the guard position, and we saw that in North Carolina with Felton. And he really was on path to do really, really great things. And then the Carmelo Anthony trade happened. And that's what makes me still bitter to this day about that, because you had something. As opposed to contributing to that something, you threw out the whole plan of what has worked to try to move in a different direction. It didn't work out. But when you look at Jalen Brunson, you see all of that. You see all of that. You see the attention to detail. You see that he is an extension of the coach on the floor. Tell me a time outside of in the last game where he was giving it everything he had, putting his blood, sweat, and tears, leaving it on the floor. Game 6 of the series against the Miami Heat last year. Other than that time where he had that turnover, he made that mistake, how many times can you count on two hands that you were mad at Jalen Brunson about a poor decision? That he made such an egregious mistake on the floor. Even when he has poor games, you look like yo, he's had so many stellar games, you can't be mad at the poor games that he's had. Like, that's that's superstar level production. That superstar level aura. That is something we haven't seen. And I'm telling you, when you have that in your best player, and also your best player who everybody agrees. I mean, Bogdanovich has only been here for like a hot lunch in terms of his time here in New York. And they had a little commercial thing where they was, kind of, they had a bobblehead toy, near the locker room and all the places coming in. A little light moment. Everybody joke about how big the bobblehead of Jalen Brunson was. But everybody had a little comment when they saw it. Bogdanovich said King of New York right away. What do you, that's Bogdanovich. So I say that to kind of say, no matter what you think about Brunson, in addition to his talent and him giving buckets to everybody this season, the man has the ability, he is the leader, he is the unquestioned leader in the locker room. The man has put the team on his back and carried them when all these injuries happened. Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle, himself. He early in the season had the situation where he had the injury. And then he fought through it and put it behind him. We haven't heard anything since about his injury. He's banged up. Everybody's banged up at this point in time in the year. And in addition to that, what are the ops saying? Opposing coaches are like, yo, this man is a problem. We don't know what to do with him. Even last year, Spoelstra was just like, how was he not an all-star? How was he not all-NBA? And I don't even want to get into that because the NBA tries to crown their kings. They try to anoint, they want to be responsible for creating the narrative of who is a face of the league and who's not, which is why they do everything in their power to prevent the New York Knicks from ascending, because they don't want not to be responsible for the development and the rise of a player in their league. They want to be responsible for it, which is why they've given the pin to LeBron. But that's neither here nor there. I'm going to stay on track. But that's what I see. I see that. And Knicks fans, you can't tell me you don't see that. The only thing that pisses me off, and I say this on every video, is that y'all afraid to step out there and say what you see or say what you believe, because you don't want to get ahead of yourself. You're either afraid of getting clowned by your friends, or you're afraid of sounding what they call delusional. Damn that. Yo, tell me what team is the overwhelming favorite to win the championship this season. Point them out. What team is the overwhelming favorite? Now tell me what team that you don't have concerns about injury this season. If you're telling me the overwhelming favorite is Boston, are you also telling me you think Boston is going to make it to the finals uninjured? With the history of Kristaps Porzingis, with the history of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and the history of the Miami Heat for injuring people, now they're playing against them. And we saw what happened with Tatum and Caleb Martin. So you telling me that they're going to make it to the finals uninjured? We already got an injury. We've shown the ability to play at a high level through our injuries still. So you telling me Boston is without a doubt the favorite? How about the Denver Nuggets? And I don't even want to talk about the West, because we don't got to face them. We don't got to face any of those teams that you point out, whether it's the Lakers, whether it's the OKC Thunder, whether it's the Denver Nuggets, whether it's the Pelicans. Whoever you point at in the West, it don't matter to us, because all of them ain't showing up in the finals, only one. Whoever comes out of the East only has to face one. So we ain't even worried about them. You tell me who in the East is more of a favorite to get to the NBA Finals than the New York Knicks, the most physical team in the Eastern Conference, the most resilient team in the Eastern Conference, the one team that really locks in and focuses on defense in the Eastern Conference. You tell me that. You can't. You can't. The NBA championship window is wide open this series. Now, we did get a win, yes. And I know I'm sounding like I'm completely overlooking the 76ers, but my point is playing out in the Philly series. You know what I mean? Like Embiid, there was just like, a Sixer fan hopped on my channel on YouTube. He was just like, I'm saying, you know what I mean? Y'all talking up because he's injured. I'm like, fam, y'all act like we don't got injuries. Y'all act like we haven't had injuries. And you act like you've ever had a healthy Embiid. So what are you talking about? If we had a healthy Embiid, you know what I mean? It'll be a wrap. Y'all ain't never have a healthy Embiid. Y'all don't even know what it looks like to have a healthy Embiid. So talk to me with that. And if there was a season or two where you had the healthy Embiid, has he made the finals? So what are you talking? You with us. So that's the piece. When I look at Brunson and what his impact has been, that's why I don't care about these awards. MVP, where he stands with the awards, most improved player, everybody. They can't stand the fact. They cannot stand the fact that they weren't at the forefront of predicting what it is Brunson's been doing. But I'm telling you this much. I predicted the New York Knicks will win a championship in 2024. That is my prediction. I'm standing on it. And I didn't predict that this season. I predicted it 2 years ago. Go watch my video on the New York Knicks or the Golden State Warriors will be the Golden State Warriors of 2024. I predicted it 2 years ago. And in that video, I said, yo, I'm seeing the similarities. The New York Knicks are taking the Golden State Warriors playbook and putting together this team. The Golden State Warriors didn't get a Kevin Durant until they won a championship. And they started changing the narrative on who they were as a team, being a champion, being a winner. They did it through the draft. The one major free agency signing they got was Andre Iguodala. And he was the final piece to them putting this run together and winning out of nowhere. It took Mark Jackson saying that he had the best shooting backcourt in NBA history before anybody else said it. They clowned him for it. And umpteen years later, they are the greatest shooting backcourt in NBA history. When will we follow the leadership of our former point guard and have that same level of confidence of saying what we see in Brunson, saying what we see in this team? Listen, let them be right. Let the NBA pontificators be right. The New York Knicks don't have the best player on the floor any given night. No. All we need to have is the best team. All we need to have is the best team. And there's an article out there, and I'll add that article later under the video, where they interviewed a guy who said he would remain nameless, but he was a part of the Golden State Warriors organization. I'm thinking it's the former GM. And he basically said, I'm looking at and have connections to the inner workings of the team, player personnel as well as the management. And he said there's nobody in the New York Knicks organization who doesn't believe they can win a championship this year. Nobody. He said that is what their mind is on. That is the focus. That is the goal. There is no get a little bit better than we got last year. There's none of that. They said from day one, ground one, the goal and the belief is that the New York Knicks would end this season as a champion. And he said, and it reminded me of my time in Golden State during that first championship year. He said it's almost eerily similar. So I'm saying, if all of the, look, y'all don't see it, I don't know, I said this in another video too. If y'all don't see it, I can't give y'all my glasses. I can't give you my glasses. I can't show you what I see. But Shir Stradamus is on to something. My name is Barack, and my middle name is Bashir, and Shir is the name. Shir Stradamus is on to something. I'm telling you what I see. This is it. So y'all walk on eggshells if you want throughout this tournament, and walk nervously throughout this tournament, man. And watch this team prove everybody wrong. Watch this team speaks to your doubts, prove you wrong as well. They've been doing it all season. So what say you? You with me? We chipping it up? You'll start talking our talk. Keep this in mind. Same thing applies to life that applies to our team. If there's no struggle, there's no progress. But remember this, whether it's out here in the real world or these New York streets or these YouTube streets, here in Knicks Deli, everybody eats. Enjoy the game. I'm looking for a blowout tonight. I think it may be 5 minutes. You know what? I don't think Embiid going to play tonight. I think they're going to sit him out and try to give him extended rest. I think I heard Alan Hahn say that, so I don't want to take credit for it. But I think it makes sense. I think they're going to give him treatment. I think he's going to go through the process of recovery, and I think he's going to sit this one out. But I think the New York Knicks are going to win by more than 10 tonight. So enjoy tonight's game, and let's go Knicks. Yo, hit me up on the chat. Holla at me on Twitter, Knicks Deli, and I'll holla at all y'all later. Peace.